Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Quispamsis Planning Advisory Committee for Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Darren Bishop. I'm the Vice Chair sitting in for our Chair, Darren Lamont, who is with us virtually this evening, along with Kendall Mason as well, and Jennifer Jarvis is also virtual. Item number 2, approval agenda. Can I have a motion to approve? Approved by Mark.
So move.
Seconded. Kendall.
Second by Kendall. All in favor, please vote.
It's a yay for me.
Thank you.
There's no vote button.
No, I'm gonna put you in this. So can you count my votes? I'll fix that paper.
Okay, motion approved, 6-0. Item number 3, disclosures of interest. None being, we'll move on to item 4, approval of the previous minutes. Can I have a motion, please? Brent, motion by Brent, and second by Brenda. Okay, please vote.
A yay for me, Darren.
Okay. That's motion's approved, 6-0. Item number 5, business arising from the previous meetings. None there. Can I have a motion to receive and file, please?
So moved, Darren.
Moved by Darren Lamont, second. Second by Mark Guest. Please vote. Motion approved by 6-0. Unfinished business, none being, we'll move on to item number 7. Item number 7, please step up to the podium. 7A, 8 Pleasant Avenue foundation elevation variance. An application requesting approval for a foundation elevation variance for 8 Pleasant Avenue, PID 30016-034. Please state your name for the record.
Stephen Tibbetts.
Stephen Tibbetts. Nice to meet you, Stephen. Jennifer, can you give us a little background on this?
Sure. This home is located in an R1 zone. It has 2,024 square meters. The proposed elevation needs to be at least 1 meter above, whereas this build is going to result in it being equal with the center grade of the road. Therefore, a 1 meter variance is required. We sent notices to neighboring properties and received no concerns. Staff have no concerns with this application either. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Stephen, you've received the same package that we have. Is there anything you'd like to add to your package before members of PAC ask any questions?
Nope, nothing to add.
Okay, members of PAC, have any questions for Mr. Tibbetts? No questions, pretty straightforward. Is there anybody online or present would like to speak for or against this motion? Is there anybody online or present would like to speak for or against this? For the third and final time, is there anybody present or online willing to speak or want to speak for or against this item? None being, would somebody like to put a motion forward with terms and conditions, please?
I just had a quick question, I guess.
Brenda, sorry?
Sorry.
Yeah, you got a question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
just quick question. That is a large parcel of property. Is there enough room to build a house on the end of it, the other side of Braun? It goes from the curve down to the.
It's a long property. And
Yeah.
one could be built down on the bottom. But the aim for us right now is to build something that has everything on one level.
Yeah.
With a walkout down below, and the only place to do that would be off of Pleasant Avenue, that side.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I was just looking at that, so if you have to have the drainage, you don't want to pollute the neighbors.
Oh, no, there won't be any issues there.
Yeah. All right, that was my question.
Okay. Mark?
Just like to put forward a motion.
Yep.
Put forward a motion that the Planning Advisory Committee grant the 1 meter foundation elevation variance to section 6F1 of the zoning bylaw 038 for 8 Pleasant Avenue, PID, subject to the following terms and conditions. Number 1, the preparation of the hold harmless agreement should be executed prior to approval of the final inspection of the dwelling. And number 2, a building permit is issued prior to construction.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
Second that.
Brent? Thank you. Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, please vote.
A yay for me, Violet.
And motion carried with a vote of 6-0. Mr. Tibbetts, you'll get a letter in the mail within 5 to 7 business days with your approval. Good luck. Thank you. Okay. And you don't need to stay if you don't want to. Moving on to item 7B, 46 Bunnell Avenue Foundation Elevation Variance and Waterfront Review. An application requesting approval for construction on a lot bordering the waterfront, a variance to foundation elevation and side yard variance for 40 Bunnell Drive, PID 303-41127. Would the applicant please step forward and state your name for the record?
Wayne Walker.
Wayne, nice to meet you, Wayne. Okay, Wayne, you received the same package as we did. Is there anything you'd like to add to the package before members of PAC ask you some questions?
No, it all seems in order to me.
Okay. Members of PAC, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Walker? Again, fairly straightforward elevation variance. Is there anybody online or in the audience who'd like to speak for or against this? Is anybody online or in present would like to speak for or against this? For the third and final time, is there anyone online or present that would like to speak for or against this item? Hearing none, we'll ask members of PAC to vote, please. Or sorry.
I'll put a motion forward, Darren.
Great, Darren Lamont.
I'll put a motion forward to PAC grant a 3.3 meter foundation elevation variance from section 6F1 of the zoning bylaw 038, a 17.8 decimal meter variance from section 25F3 of the zoning bylaw 038 for the side yard setback, and to support construction on the waterfront lot as per 6I1 and 6BB1 of the zoning bylaw number 038 for 46 Bunnell Drive, PID 303-41119, subject to the following terms and conditions. The preparation of a hold harmless agreement shall be executed prior to approval of the final acceptance of the dwelling, and a building permit is issued prior to any construction.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder on that?
I'll second it. It's Kendall.
Second by Kendall. On the debate, any debate on that? All right, please vote.
A yay for me, Darren.
Thank you. And motion carried with 6-0. Mr. Walker, you'll have a letter in the mail in 5 to 7 business days with your approval. Good luck. Thank you. Moving on, item 7C, 50 Grafton Drive, detached garage setback variance, an application requesting approval for a 5.0 side yard setback to permit the construction of a detached garage at 50 Grafton Drive, PID 3022285. And Jennifer, would you like to introduce this one for us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we have, where am I? meter side yard setback to permit the construction of a detached garage at 50 Grafton. It's an R1 lot. It has 1,808 square meters. The location of the detached garage is proposed to have a setback to the property line of 2.5 meters. And it is a corner lot, and that's why there's this extra setback required. Most people have a 3-meter setback where it's a corner lot. It's considered a flankage yard, I guess, and therefore it would need to have the same setback as a regular frontage. We've sent out notices to neighboring properties within 50 meters of the subject lot and received no concerns, and staff have no concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Could you please state your name for the record?
Gerard Gadet.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Cadet. You received the same packages we did. Is there anything you'd like to add to the package? Okay. Members of PAC, do you have any questions for Mr. Cadet for his 5-meter setback? Everybody's getting off easy here, the first 3. Might have to be penting up for later on. So. Is there anybody online or in attendance who'd like to speak for or against this item? Is anybody online or in attendance who'd like to speak for or against this item? For the third and final time, is there anybody online or in attendance who'd like to speak for or against this item? I ask for a motion with terms and conditions for this, please.
I'll put a motion forward. It's Kendall.
Great, Kendall.
I recommend the Planning Advisory Committee grant the 5.0 meter side yard setback variance from the town zoning bylaw 038, section 8G 1BI to allow for the construction of a detached garage at 50 Grafton Drive, PID 30222285. It should be subject to the following terms and conditions. Number 1, the side lot line is clearly defined prior to construction. If the property pins are not identifiable, a professional surveyor licensed by the province of New Brunswick must be hired to locate and mark the property line to ensure accurate setbacks. And number 2, a building permit is obtained prior to any construction.
Can I have a seconder for this motion, please? Second, Brenda?
I'll second that.
Okay. Can we ask everybody to vote, please? Oh, yes.
I have a
Brenda?
question on the motion,
Question, yes?
to Kendall and to Brenda. We should add our 2 standard clauses to that. The national building to be clad in the garage to be
Cladded.
clad by material recognized by National Building Code, and the garage not to be used
Yep,
for business, housing, or animals, I think it is.
yep, no, that's good. Well, we can add that. Is that all right with everyone? Brenda and Kendall, I think you,
Yes,
Put the motion
I'm
forward.
comfortable with that. It's Kendall.
all right, perfect. Any other questions around the debate? Okay, please vote.
I'm a yay. Yeah.
Motion carried with 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Cadet. Your motion approved. You'll have a letter in the mail in 5 to 7 business days. Good luck with your project. Thank you. Item 7D, 31 Layfield Drive, side yard setback, an application requesting approval to construct a dwelling such that it requires a 9.4 meter variance from section 25F3, not having a side yard setback of 30 meters from at least one side of the main dwelling at 31 Layfield Drive, PID 303-47496. Can we have the applicant state your name?
Jamal Debley.
Yes, nice to meet you, Mr. Debley. Jennifer, would you like to introduce this for us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a lot found in the rural zone with a size of 5,829 square meters. The applicant is seeking a 9.4 meter variance from section 25F3 The lot width is 55 meters. The proposed dwelling unit is 25 meters. Therefore, with the setbacks, with the required setbacks, mathematically speaking, it's not possible for them to provide the 30-meter setback from at least one side. Staff sent out notices to properties within 50 meters. No concerns were received. And again, staff have no concerns with this application. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. So Mr. Dudley, do you have the same package that we have? Do you like anything you'd like to add?
Yes, we tried to position the building
Mhm.
so that we could get maximum surface drainage flow away from the house and into the proper residual areas.
Mhm.
And of course, we will honor the setback difference from the well to the septic and disposal bed.
Mhm.
And that's why we're here this evening.
Perfect, that's great. Okay, anybody have any questions for Mr. Dudley? Hearing none, unless there's anybody online or present like to speak for or against this item. If there's anybody online or present like to speak for or against this item for the third and final time, is there anybody online or present would like to speak for or against this item? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion with, for approval with terms and conditions. Mr. Goslin.
I'll put a recommendation for the Pleasant Advisory Committee grant the 9.4 meter side yard setback from section 25F3 of zoning bylaws number 038 for 31 Leafield Drive, PID number 303-47496, subject to the following terms and conditions. A drainage plan be submitted identifying how excess water will be managed on site to the satisfaction of the building inspector prior to the issuance of a building permit. And number 2, a building permit is issued prior to the construction.
That's great, thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Mr. Preston?
I'll second that.
Great. Any questions or debate on the motion? Okay, I'll ask people to vote, please.
I'm a yay.
Motion's approved with a vote of 6-0. Mr. Dudley, you'll get a letter in the mail within 5 to 7 business days with your approval. Good luck. Thank you. Item number 7E, 175 Palmerbrook Road, a similar or compatible use, auto sales. An application requesting approval for the operation of a small vehicle sales establishment, 175 Palmerbrook Road, PID 302-16733 and 302-02477. The applicant, please state your name for the record.
Neil Wyman.
Good evening, Mr. Wyman. You received the same package that we did. Do you have anything you'd like to add to the package?
No, I'm good.
Perfect. Any members of PC have questions for Mr. Wyman? Brenda?
A few questions. It's kind of quite a busy lot. It's hard to figure out what's all going on there. But, I mean, you see things, are you going to plan on having the mulch place as landscaping as well as the cars on that lot?
Well, no. The actual car lot, proposed car lot, is
Yeah.
on an elevated area on the first PID number, on 175, the original number. It's a raised elevated area. Looking at it from the road, it'd be the left-hand corner, adjacent with our large sign.
Mm-hmm.
It's there.
But does that mean there's going to be no landscaping at all, or put on that lot, or
No, it would be
that
on the
business not happening?
It's put on hold. It didn't happen last year because our main business, due to COVID, everything was really, really slow, so it kind of halted that. And I have a customer, which will be a potential client. I have a customer in our auto haul business that he's looking to secure his dealer license, and he wants to have approximately 12 cars on our site, on that elevated area, which is the highest elevation on the property, on the left-hand side. The landscape area, retail sales would be on to the left of that, looking at the property from the road, and that's where the second driveway is. And there's lots of room, and it won't interfere with any of the requirements from the PAC.
So how many businesses are operating from that lot?
There is our business, which is Red Roof Services. There's the bus people that have Maritime Bus,
Yeah.
and there's Southern MB Tire, and also Dwight Cameron is in the back left-hand corner with his CMV towing.
Okay.
So
It's
all the
busy.
business basically tie together. They're all basically a wheel-based business, so that if there was a jingle, if you have wheels, then we can. If your wheels, we can deal. No, no, but just, I don't know how to really put that out there, but yeah. So it's basically a business that can take care of the needs of basically any traffic there. There's roughly, an old car count is about 10,000 vehicles a day on there. So I mean, it's kind of natural for the lay of the land. And so the automotive business is in that skew, I guess you'd say. So hopefully I've answered your question.
Thanks.
Questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Wyman? All right. And being, is there anybody present or online would like to speak for or against this item? Is there anybody online or present would like to speak for or against this item? For the third and final time, is there anybody online or present would like to speak for or against this item? Hearing none, would ask for motions with terms and conditions, please, for someone to put forward. So we're looking for a motion to be put forward. Mr. Goslin?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have a question here.
Sure.
In the bylaw variance requested, there's a note that says about the variance was only realized by the staff after the notice was sent to the neighboring properties. Is that an issue here, Violet?
If Mr. Colburn, if he thinks that's
Okay.
an issue.
Dwight?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm not clear on the question when it says.
The question here, it says in the note that it should be noted that this required variance was only realized by staff after notice was sent to the neighboring properties. Therefore, it is at the discretion of the Planning Advisory Committee if they wish to table this additional variance request and direct the staff to reissue a public notice or if they wish to proceed. My question is there an issue here if we don't reissue another public notice?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that would be obviously at the discretion of the Planning Advisory Committee in accordance with the Planning Advisory Committee policy. I think it would be prudent for PAC to look at the nature of the request and the nature of the use that's presented to them. The use that's presented is similar to what's currently happening on the property. And if they're comfortable with the use in terms of it being a light industrial and don't foresee anything that PAC might feel would warrant further notice to property owners to get their input, then again, it's at their discretion whether they feel comfortable in moving forward with the information that they have, given the uses that are on the property, or if they feel there's some item that might be of contention that they would like to have feedback from the public or the property owners adjacent to it, then obviously that's at their discretion. The light industrial zone, in accordance with the zoning bylaw, the wording is that you can have more than one main use, right? So even though, through you, Mr. Chair, to address Ms. Fowley's question, there are multiple uses on the property. However, the light industrial zoning permits one or more of the main following, one or more of main uses, right? So you can have For example, you can have heavy equipment maintenance, and then you can have some kind of sales, and those types of things. So based on what we see on the property, they would appear to have fall under one or more main uses. And if I recall correctly, I believe CMB towing came through PAC for approval, and the landscape operation came through PAC as approval. So those have been addressed through prior applications and subject to terms and conditions.
Thank you, Dwight. Yeah, I think Mr. Wyman's got quite a business park going there when all the businesses seem to be related, so, yeah. So ask again for a motion to approve or deny with terms and conditions. We're looking for a motion to approve or deny with terms and conditions. Does anybody have any other questions for Mr. Wyman on this item? If not, would somebody like to put a motion forward to approve or deny with terms and conditions, please?
Mr. Bishop, it's Mr. Lamont. I'll put a motion forward that we approve the vehicle sales as a similar compatible use and a variance to section 6P 3B of the zoning bylaw 038 to permit parking within the required front yard setback on the property of 175 Palmerbrook Road, PID 302-02477 and PID 302-16733, subject to the following terms and conditions. Number one, the dealership must comply with all provincial regulations and conditions as set out by the Motor Vehicle Act. The inventory of vehicles displayed for the sale on the lot shall not exceed 12 vehicles at any one time. All maintenance or repairs to the inventory vehicles to be performed off-site. No servicing of vehicles is permitted on-site. Number four, hours of operation will fall between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. as permitted times. Number five, all signage will comply with the town's sign bylaw 036. And I think number six would be that the request for the landscaping be null and void, because this is on the same property. Is that valid?
It's on a different PID, separate PID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Strike that away then. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second it. It's Kendall.
Kendall, thank you. May we please vote, or any discussion on the motion? Yeah, Mr. President?
Based on the staff recommendations, should we not put a condition in there that it's subject to the property owner providing the office or the staff with the amount of businesses and staff that work in that property so they can determine the proper amount of parking spaces required?
I guess through you to you, we'll ask you, Dwight, would there be something required for that? It's a large property, there's no real defined parking, I guess.
It may be prudent to basically review the development agreements that are in place for that property and to make sure that they align, and then we can address it through that process. Because I believe it, if I recall correctly, through the zoning bylaw, says any new development requires a development agreement. So perhaps an option would be that the development agreements associated with the subject property be reviewed, and then in terms of the number of businesses and parking can be addressed through that process. Because the change in use on the land is considered a development in accordance with the definition of development, the Community Planning Act, as well as our zoning bylaw.
Okay, so we'll add item number 6, review the developer's agreement.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It's
Okay,
good.
good. And second?
I'm good. Thanks.
Great. Please vote.
I'm a yay.
Motion passed with a vote of 6-0. Mr. Wyman, you have a letter in the mail within 5 to 7 business days. Good luck with your project. Thank you. Mr. Coburn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before you move to item F,
Yes.
just to draw PAC's attention to the description that's associated with this particular item. In my reading of the description, it appears that perhaps the software that generates the agenda may have pulled this information from another field because it refers to a subdivision plan creating 19 residential lots in a single two-family dwelling zone with an extension of Montana Drive and Selkirk. That is associated with another subdivision item that's on this agenda. So item F, rezoning Cargill Road Bearland condominium development. The description actually is, it's a rezoning that's currently happening through council. So council has forwarded the application to Planning Advisory Committee for the written views as it relates to the rezoning of the property.
Okay, thank you, Dwight. I guess, so we'll,
Provide more information once the applicant.
yeah, we'll, I guess, introduce this now as item number 7F. Council seeking the PAC views on the application amended zoning bylaw 038 rezoning of PID 00231928 from rural RU to multiple residential R2 Bearland condominium development. Could you please state your name for the record?
Andrew Toole, Donmore Surveys and Engineering.
Yes, Mr. Toole. So Dwight, could you please introduce this, enlighten us, please?
So the package or the item that's before PAC again is part of a rezoning application that's before council to rezone the subject property from rural to R2 to permit a condominium development, a Bearland condominium development. So this particular development, it's based on the concept of sustainable development. So when you look at the property as a whole, the property that is going to be that's going to fall under the condominium development is approximately 20 acres, 19 acres and a bit. Portions of that land are challenging with respect to its topography. You've got some really steep slopes through there, and to simply create 19 1-acre lots across the property would be challenging. So the approach that's being taken is to simply take the 19 units, set them in a particular area, and then service those 19 units by a communal or a common sanitary sewage system, as well as either one well or maybe a multiple wells servicing a number of units. This is not something that's sort of like a first one of in the province. There's another one that comes to mind. I'm not sure, I think it's in my staff report, that's of a similar nature. So the development itself is not looking at higher density because you're taking 19 units that you could basically spread across 19 or 20 acres, and you're still on that sort of development level, right? It's just a cluster development where you're pulling them together. So the idea here will be that Cargo Road, as it currently exists, is a private lane. So that would be upgraded to a municipal standard and be vested to the municipality as a public street. And then servicing access into those 19 units will be a private lane network. The areas that are not developed will be common lands, which will fall under the Condominium Act for the development, as well as any maintenance and upgrades or in terms of the sanitary sewage system would fall under the condo corporation, as well as the well and the well maintenance. As I've indicated, I believe in my staff report, and I've also indicated to council, is that the benefit of this being under a condo corporation means that you have bylaws and you have a development that's registered with the province, which means there is a mechanism in place to ensure that funds are in a reserve for the ongoing upkeep and maintenance of both the property, common areas, and then the infrastructure to service them. It's my understanding the development will occur in phases. So that's beneficial, and that'll actually give the project opportunity to obviously develop a portion of it and then size things accordingly, and before you move on to the next phase, and then any issues that may arise can be dealt with prior to moving to that second phase. So it's simply the first phase would fall under the condominium or the condominium corporation, and then you simply expand that to include the secondary phase, and that's a similar approach that we've taken to other condominium corporations within Quispamsis, where they've been phased approaches, and you simply expand the area that falls under the condo corporation and the bylaws accordingly. So at this time, again, it's going from RU to R2 because R2 is the zoning that permits a condo development. Recognizing that the sanitary sewage system would have to be engineered and designed in accordance with the guidelines of the province, and also that it would require a hydrogeological study to ensure that it does meet the requirements in terms of water servicing. So the council this time is looking for the written comments of PAC in terms of their support or their concerns with the project, and that will be taken into consideration as council moves forward through the rezoning process. I think that's pretty much summarizing what's before PAC, and again, I'm open to any questions as you move through considering the application. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Coburn. Mr. Toole, you received the same package that we did. Is there anything you'd like to add? It's quite a very interesting project, so maybe you might want to give us a little bit of your details as well.
Well, I think Dwight did a pretty good job. Not much I can add. Like if you have questions, I'll gladly answer them, but I think he said everything I was going to say.
Yep, perfect.
So, thank you.
Yeah. Do we have any questions from members of PAC? Brenda?
Hi there, as usual. I found this interesting. That's for a larger portion of property, or just 20 acres going into this unit. The other part of the land, would that be under a different PID number? You would take those 20 acres and put it into the condominium, whatever they call it, so that nothing else is developed on that property? Is that?
That's right. So when it starts, it'll be one property,
Yeah.
20 acres, and then as it moves through the condominium process, as each unit is created, they become another PID, but the common area surrounds it. So you can't. It's the same as if you look at a traditional condo. There's common area all the way around the building.
Yeah.
This will be the same thing. There'll be 20 acres of, so there'll be 21 PIDs, or 20 PIDs, the 19 units plus one common, and the common plus all the other 19 will equal 20 acres. So the entire thing will be used. There's no way to expand it.
Okay.
And at the point it's created, the declarations will very clearly state there's 19 units, we're doing X today, and in the future we're going to do the rest. And you can't change that number on the way through.
Okay. So you're doing your units, and they would be joined with septic system of some sort. But would you put that whole system in place? Because that would be expensive. If you only have 4 built, you don't want them to pay for the whole thing.
That's the point of phasing it. There would be 2 phases, and if you look at the diagram on the left, there's 2 private streets, one between that cluster that curves at the bottom, and one that goes up the top. Each one would have its own system. It would be treated similar to a municipal system. There'd be a collection system from each unit. We'll go down to a treatment, a very small plant, and then go out into a drip system. And all of that would be put in at once. And that would service, like the bottom one would service, whatever that is, 11 units.
Okay.
Size for the 11 would all go in at once. And then when we move to the next 8, we have to put in another system.
Okay, the system that you're looking at is the one that was in our...
Yeah, it's called Fusion.
And that has been used in Sussex?
It's definitely used in Sussex. There's one in Woodstock. There's one in Shediac. They're all over the place.
Are they expensive to maintain?
They're pretty cheap. So annual maintenance is typically between $500 and $1,000. So
okay.
For this, that's pretty cheap. Well, all that they do is once a year, a service provider for the vendor comes in, changes some filters, makes sure everything's running right, and drives on to the next site.
Okay. I guess what springs to mind is we inherited some septic systems, sewage systems.
So, and that's the advantage.
Didn't work.
That's the advantage of the condominium thing. There's this reserve fund that on day one, we need to provide a reserve fund study that says, here's what we're building, here's the cost to build it, here's the maintenance cost to keep it going, and the condominium corporation has to maintain that kitty, and the government makes sure they're doing it right. So the money is there to fix this. Right?
Okay.
If there's a problem, and first, public safety has to approve my plans to say this is gonna work.
Okay.
Next, that money has to be there to fix it.
Okay, and everyone has their own property? Do they do their own landscaping, or is that?
No, so it
It's
would
all
be,
took
and
and
this
take-
this is a detail that can be worked out later, but generally the condominium does all the landscaping.
Okay,
If you really want to, whippersnip around your house or something, they will probably let you. But technically, the community, like the corporation, is responsible for all maintenance of everything except inside your building.
Okay.
It's called a bare land condo.
okay,
Inside your building is your problem. The outside of the building is the condominium's problem.
okay. Like the top of the building, the roof
If
is,
the roof goes, they'll replace it. But
okay,
if you wanna paint your walls, you're allowed to do that.
Okay.
Like, that's your problem. Or
okay.
hang
Yeah,
a picture, or whatever you
I
wanna
find
do.
it
But if
very,
you need a new roof, you need a new window, the corporation looks after that, and there's a reserve fund to keep the money.
okay. It's
And similarly
interesting.
with wells, like we would not have a single well, probably 4 to 5 is what they're telling us right now, is where we're probably gonna end up, 4 to 5 units per well. And so there'd be a shared well that services 4 or 5 units at a time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Toole? No other questions? Is there anybody online or present would like to speak for or against this item? Is there anybody online or present would like to speak for or against this item? For the third and final time, is there anybody online or present would like to speak for or against this item? Hearing none, we'll ask for a motion to approve or not with terms and conditions. Mr. Guest?
I'd like to put forward a motion that the PAC support council in the rezoning of PID 00231928 from rural RU or multiple residential R2 for bare land condominium development. The following terms and conditions must be considered. Number 1, Cargo Road must be constructed to a public street standard. Number 2, the private laneways are to be designed as per the National Building Code to ensure sufficient access to all units by emergency service personnel. Number 3, the development must be registered with the province as condominium development under the Condominium Act. Number 4, the on-site sewage disposal system must be designed by a professional engineer as per the New Brunswick Technical Guidelines for on-site sewage disposal systems. Number 5, the completion of a comprehensive water source and supply assessment and undergo screening as it relates to the completion of environmental impact assessment. Number 6, an engineered design stormwater management plan and drainage system stamped by a registered professional engineer licensed to practice in the province of New Brunswick is to be completed and submitted for each phase of the development. Number 7, street lighting installation at the entrance to the development shall be installed. Number 8, all building lights to be downward directed. Number 9, all materials and equipment ordered on-site are the responsibility of the developer. Number 10, the developer is to enter into a developer's agreement with the town of Quispamsis. Number 11, the land shall be developed in accordance with the most recently dated building and development plans filed with and approved by the town for each phase. Number 12, the total number of units is 19 units for that portion being proposed for condominium development. Number 13, a review of the LPP credit is to be undertaken prior to final plan approvals to ensure LPP obligations as it relates to the proposed development is found to be in comply with the subdivision bylaw. If additional LPP requirements need to be satisfied, the developer is to submit a proposal to the PAC for review prior to final subdivision plan approval by the council And number 14, if the development does not substantially proceed within 6 months of the date of the approval for each phase, the developer shall restore the lands to an attractive, natural state, and such restoration is to be completed within 60 days.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Brent, thank you. May we take it to a vote? Oh, one moment, please. Dwight?
Just on item number 4, it says that the sanitary sewage system is designed by a professional engineer. I would recommend or be prudent that PAC also note that it has to be approved by Department of Public Safety. So just because it's designed by an engineer doesn't mean that it satisfies or is approved by the province. So you may want to add that into that recommendation.
Okay, well, can we add that in?
It is safe.
Is it safety?
Safety, okay. Everyone's good with that? Mark?
Yes, good with that.
Yep, perfect, right. Okay, we'll take it to a vote.
A yay for me. Violet, Darren.
Thank you. And motion's carried with a vote of 6-0. Mr. Toole and to Rob Vigor, great looking project. We hope to see that come to fruition in the future. Good luck. You'll have a letter in the mail, 5 to 7 business days. Thank you.
Oh, you're staying up there, okay.
On to item 7G, Chestnut Property, tentative subdivision plan. Tentative plan for 2 lots not fronting on Municipal Street, PIDs 230748, 253344, and 300544340. Mr. Colburn, would you like to introduce this project for us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the subdivision application that's before the PAC is before the PAC under the provision that any lot that doesn't front a municipal street or road owned by the Crown and is proposing alternate access requires approval of the Planning Advisory Committee. So in this particular case, we have existing properties that actually reside on parcels of land that are approved parcels. So what's happening is the property owner is proposing basically just some reconfiguration of lot layouts in preparation for potential future development or just future planning for the remnant parcels. The existing driveway as it, or the access as it currently is provided is a driveway that goes off the Hammond River Road. There is no proposal to upgrade that driveway. It is as it exists today and provide service to the existing homes. There is consideration to potentially the driveway that is servicing lot 22-1 may come off of any future street that would sort of come off Hammond River Road and into the remnant parcels. So just to the right of where the hand is shown on the screen. So in essence, it's before PAC to approve the proposed lot configuration as lots 22-2 will not front a municipal street. Lot 22-1 will, because it'll be fronting the Hammond River Road, but the reconfiguration for lot 22-2 is now not fronting municipal street once that boundary gets created as proposed. Previously it did, the larger lot did front and have abut the Hammond River Road, as can be seen on the screen. Straightforward, no concerns. The only, I guess, item of note in my staff report is that the remnant parcels are to be consolidated. And in this particular case, we have, I believe it's 1 parcel or maybe 2 that are in the registry system. However, the one parcels and land titles, so they all must be brought into the land title system to be able to do a consolidation, a PID consolidation through Service of Brunswick. And that's in my staff report, and that would be a condition that would have to be fulfilled before approval is granted to the subdivision plan. It's my understanding that that has currently been undertaken by the property owner. The other item is that there will have to be a civic number change to what is currently 75 Hammond River Road, because the current property extends all the way over to the Hammond River Road, but once that gets severed off, then 75 puts it sort of out of sequence. And in this particular case, I think the civic number that's being proposed is 105. So that would have to be part of the approval as well. That would bring it into line with our civic number guidelines, and then just the NV 911 guidelines in terms of civic numbering process. I think that's all in terms of summary. Again, open to questions as you move through the process.
Thank you, Mr. Coburn. Could you please your name for the record, please? Mr. Toole, good evening. Same package that we have. Dwight gave a pretty good overview. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Pretty good. Right? That's why we pay him the big bucks. Yeah. So any questions from PAC on this item? For Mr. Toole? No questions. Is there anybody online or present who'd like to speak for or against this item? Is there anybody online or present who'd like to speak for or against this item? Third and final time, is there anybody online or present who'd like to speak for or against this item? Hearing none, is there anyone who'd like to put a member of the PAC like to put a motion for or against with terms and conditions?
It's Kendall. I'll put a motion forward.
Thank you, Kendall.
I recommend that PAC provide approval of the Chestnut property subdivision with the following conditions. Number one, approval of the access for lot 22-2 for a lot that will not front a municipal street. Number two, a change in civic number for 75 Hammond River Road, lot 22-1 to 105 Hammond River Road. Number three, the execution of a hold harmless agreement for lot 22-2 to protect the town and to make the property owners aware of the responsibilities associated with the private driveway that does not front a municipal street, and highlights the concerns from fire, police, and ambulance and the importance of unobstructed access. Number four, a hold harmless agreement to incorporate a clause whereby it is recognized by the property owner that investment made in construction of the driveway will not be recovered in the event the access is upgraded to a municipal public street standard in the future. Number five, LPP obligations to be met through the land dedication at a future date with the development of the consolidated remnant parcel. Number six, final plan will not be approved until the remnant parcels be identified by PIDs 00230748, 30054-340, and 00253344 are brought into land titles and consolidated. Number seven, filing fees in the amount of $100 for a subdivision plan of a two-lot subdivision.
Thank you, Kendall. Can we have a seconder?
I'll second that. Darren Lamont.
Thank you, Darren. Okay, and on the debate, anything on the motion? All right, we'll take it to a vote.
A yay for me, Violet.
Thank you.
Motion carried with a vote of 6-0. Mr. Chilly, you get a letter in the mail in 5 to 7 business days. Good luck with your project. Item number 7H, Executive Acres Phase 9, tentative subdivision plan. A tentative subdivision plan on PID 300333264, proposing the creation of 8 single and 2 family dwellings, R1 lots, and 1 public street, public utilities easement, and land for public purpose. Jennifer, would like to introduce this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are looking at a proposal for 8 single and 2 family R1 lots. The location of the proposed subdivision will be found off of Rockefeller Drive. The subdivision development is in a residential zone. It's found in the future land use map and found in the municipal plan. And the proposed lots will be serviced by on-site septic and private wells. The proposed new street will provide access to the lands also that are found abutting the subject property to the north, and it is expected that these lands will develop in the future. We'll be looking for a set of engineering drawings and identifying street profiles as part of the subdivision process. Sanitary sewer service will need to have an on-site septic report from a qualified professional from public health, in accordance with public health, to demonstrate that the land use can be supported. As well, we will require that there be an abbreviated source and supply water assessment. Ordinarily, these are requested for developments of 10 to 24 lots. However, we know that there is the potential for further development, and this abbreviated study would benefit that future development as well. The land for public purpose that is being proposed is 1.37 hectares, which is 13,700 acres. It's thought to be a very wet area. Although it's never been delineated by the province of New Brunswick. So as part of this process, we're suggesting, staff are recommending that the Department of Natural Resources be engaged in delineating the proposed LPP wetlands. Still speaking about the land for public purpose, the bylaw requires that a 10% dedication be made. That would equal 3,930 square meters, whereas, as I suggested earlier, the applicant is proposing 1.37 hectares. So at the end of the day, 9,770 square meters would be remaining and would be placed on file for future land dedication for this developer. Staff do have some concerns about the layout of the proximity actually of the proposed new road, Carlingford Drive, and the proximity of the driveway found at 66 Rockefeller Drive. Ordinarily, our bylaw does require 11 meters separation between a driveway and an intersection. So that is one concern that that I would like to bring forward to PAC's attention. We did send out notifications to property owners and we received no concerns. And that is the parking lot, sorry, not parking lot, the driveway for 66 Rockefeller in proximity to the proposed road is staff's only concern. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. The applicant step up to the podium, please, and state your name for the record. Mr. Roberts? Mr. Robinson, good evening. You have the same package we do. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Dwight and Jennifer, anyway, covered the bulk of it on here. The only thing was the driveway, the adjacent driveway. I think Bruce's been talking to the owner and fill him in, Bruce, on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a second driveway on the property. My future street was there and surveyed, and the pins were there long before this particular house was even constructed. So I did speak to the owner about it after I received the letter. He realizes that his driveway is on my designated area for that street. He's got some ideas that he would like to propose. One was that he would just topsoil and turn it into lawn and wouldn't use it as a driveway. Well, drive an ATV on it across the lawn, but not a proper driveway. I did suggest that we could give him, or may give him access off the new street, but I'm not sure that he was interested in that. So that's where we are. Yeah, I guess that's.
Okay.
The only other thing I'd like to comment on is just the use of the land for public purposes parcel. It's the intention, you know, in the preliminary engineering study that we've done to date on it. It certainly isn't complete yet, but it would be to use that portion of that land for containment of water, so it's not, you know, that the pre and the post water runoff is the same as it was previously in the future. So it will require probably a pond on it, and so I think it's, at this stage, it might be just something that we may need to discuss with Dwight as to, you know, whether it's, you know, goes to wetland yet or not, or just how, you know, we've had some preliminary discussions on it, but I don't know, you know, if it went to wetlands, will they allow us to put the pond on it for starters? I don't know. So
Okay.
we'd better to have it constructed, let's put it that way.
Great. Dwight, do you have any comments on that? On the land for public purpose, the pond, possible retention pond?
So the land for public purposes that's been identified is reflective of a wet area in the subdivision. So using our depth of water table mapping and predictive streams, it highlights obviously the area that's in blue. We'll look at it from the idea of protecting the area and retaining it for what it currently operates as. So it's an area that obviously natural drainage, and then it leaves and makes its way across the adjoining property. I think once we get more into the engineering design side of things, you would run different models to see ultimately what volume of water is being put in there, and if the capacity gets exceeded, and then we have to look at some sort of on-site attenuation. And then there's other approaches of, do you make the attenuation at that specific area? So do you create a pond, or are there other avenues where you can do some attenuation, whether that's into ditches or you can control it getting into that pond area? So at this stage, I think it's prudent to identify the area, and then I think we can move forward through the process. And if we need to, you know, look at reviewing it with DOE and seeing what the restrictions would be, then that would come as we move through the process. So, and the idea that you're putting it into the existing area, and you would look at different forms of attenuation is something that would happen during the design phase. So, not a significant concern from a planning perspective at this stage. As we move through to more design, there's other options that we can consider.
Great.
I'm not sure through you, Mr. Chair, through Mr. Roberts, if Mr. Toole may, I would imagine he's going to be involved in the process, if he would like to add comments to it at this stage, or if what I've offered is sufficient.
Yeah.
I think it'll, you know, in going through the process, we'll certainly sort through it amongst all the players. So, unless you have anything to add on it, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna have
In order for us to maintain pre and post leaving this property, we need a pond there. We don't want to store water in ditches that just destroys the road. It's the wrong thing to do from an engineering point of view. So we already have a pond designed there. You're gonna see drawings
Thank you, Mr. Toole. Can you just pull that mic just a little bit closer to you too, please, Jerry?
Yeah,
Chair Bruce,
sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, is there any questions for Mr. Robinson or Mr. Roberts about the creation of 8 new single-family lots? Brenda?
Just a quick comment, more or less. When you go down the street and to try to develop that other street going in there, that's your land also?
Yes.
There's another driveway right beside that area. It's another 2 driveway house, I think.
Yeah, that's correct. And again, our street was already there long before that house was built. Our survey pins were in, so it's, you know, we had established where that street was gonna be, and it was on all the plans. And that homeowner who built that home would have had those plans, that would have shown it on his plans, what was already there.
Yeah, no, I agree. There seem to be a lot of 2 driveway houses. I have one, and that's hard enough to keep clean.
Right.
Anyway, that was the only comment, yeah.
The same person built both houses. The same person built both houses. Mr. Coburn?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could just add to that. So part of that may go back to our zoning bylaw establishes the distance from a street line. So in these particular cases, and I don't have the plan in front of me, I'm just going off the top of my head here. If those particular areas were not identified as a future street on the plan, then the measurement of the driveway access would not have looked at it as being from from a street. Because in essence, what may have happened, what we're reviewing tonight may not have happened. Somebody could have said, you know what, I'll purchase the whole property and I'll put a single driveway in there and develop it as a massive executive lot, right? So just sort of how that can sometimes happen.
Great, thank you, Mr. Coburn. Any questions from PAC? Hearing none, is there anybody online or in the audience like to speak for or against this item? Is there anybody online or in attendance who would like to speak for or against this item? For the third and final time, is there anybody online or present who would like to speak for or against this item? Hearing none, would somebody like to put a motion for or against with terms and conditions, please? Mr. Goslin?
I'll put a motion for considering the approval of the executive acre tentative plan and is seeking recommendation, proposing the acceptance of proposed street name Carlingford Drive. Number 2, approval of the LPP as presented on the tentative plan or recommend option to satisfy the LPP requirement. Also, I know Mr. Emerson mentioned that the driveway next to it, is this development conditional that the driveway close to the Carlingford Street is closed? It's not? Okay.
Okay, may I have a seconder, please? Brent?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any debate on this motion? Hearing none, will you please vote?
A yay for me, Darren.
Thank you. Motion carried with a vote of 6-0. Mr. Robinson and Mr. Roberts, you'll have a letter in the mail within 5 to 7 business days. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
All right. Item 7I. Item 7I, Queensberry Heights tentative subdivision plan. A tentative subdivision plan proposing the creation of 19 residential building lots in single and 2-family dwelling R1 extension of Montana Drive with a connection to Selkirk Drive, provide a second access to the area, public utility easement for electrical power and telecommunication agencies, and 3,123 square meters of land for public purpose. Would the applicant please step forward? And can Dwight, you give us a little background on this?
Jerry Roberts. The developer is here if there's any questions that we need to, Mr. Brooks is here. If there's any questions that you need to ask him or that I can't answer, so.
Sounds good. Yeah, Mr. Coburn?
So the application, the tentative plan that's before PAC again falls under the provisions of the subdivision bylaw. It's before PAC because the subdivision plan proposes the creation of a public street as well as land for public purposes. And in accordance with the Community Planning Act, any subdivision that creates a public street or land for public purposes must be reviewed by the Planning Advisory Committee before council can grant assent. This plan is a portion of an overall plan that came to Planning Advisory Committee probably back in 2018 or 2019 as phase 14, and which got divided into phase 14, which got divided, well, actually it's part of 13. They got divided into 13, 14A, and now 14B. So this is a portion that extends Montana down to Selkirk Drive area. There are some variances that are required. I think for lots 5I, 6I, the lot width at the line of setback is less than the 30 meters. However, the lots themselves are fairly large as you go back into the lot, so there isn't any concern in terms of the viability of the lots and the ability to support your standard typical residential development. Stormwater management plan has been submitted and approved by the town, which will see creation of a storm retention area on the town lands between this development and the lagoon. So where you see the QR trail, or sorry, yeah, the portion of the trail in that particular area. And again, that's a natural low area where water naturally flows. So you're basically just building on the capacity of that area to attenuate and retain water and release it at a controlled rate. I think so. In terms of the street design, I think the grade, steepest grade is about, I think 7.75%, somewhere in that order. So there's nothing above 8%. The design is to have a closed or a pipe storm sewer system where those grades are more than 6%. So stormwater will be controlled through there. Obviously a water source assessment must be submitted, and then the other thing that's of note is there's a letter that's come from the Director of Engineering that highlights a concern with respect to capacities of the sanitary sewer lines as they come out of sort of a bottleneck in the Selkirk area and then makes its way into the lagoon. So at this particular junction, you have all the flows in terms of sanitary flows that come up from upstream from Queensberry Height, from the Queensberry Drive area, the Woodley Park area, as well as now there's the capital project that's seeing the installation of a sewer collection line that runs across the lagoon property, as you can see on the screen. So this is an upgrade that basically takes the flows from the wastewater pumping stations that come out of Roberts Lane. They go down to the Gondola Point Road, and then it gets pumped to the various wastewater pumping stations all along the Gondola Point Road, and then ultimately gets pumped up over the Pettingill, or over the Quispamsis Hill, makes its way into the pump station on Means Cove Road, then comes in front of the Qplex and goes all the way up to the Vincent Road pump station, and then goes up Angel Lane, and then goes down Queensberry Drive and gets into the lagoon. So quite a little cruise. So to cut that off, you're simply coming from Roberts Lane up across the True Life Church property, and then cutting across and getting into the lagoon that way. So with all of those flows coming together, there's a concern in terms of right now the capacity of the lines that are making its way into the lagoon. We've undertaken an additional study to identify how we can mitigate those concerns. And part of those concerns may not be necessarily the actual wastewater that's being generated, but more so I&I. So stormwater runoff, heavy rain events, you get infiltration into the system, which creates capacity issues. So right now we're looking at how to mitigate that issue. So one of the letter that's been submitted by the Director of Engineering simply alludes to the fact that it would be prudent to take that consideration as we approve building permits through this process. So to perhaps put sort of a limit or restriction on issuing a certain number of building permits and then revisiting the town in terms of where you are in the mitigation process. It's something that we're exploring into this year, 2022, with probably corrections possibly happening in 2023. So it's a recognized concern. We're moving forward to address the issue, and that's an item that we would look at as we move forward through approvals with this particular development. And that again would be sort of incorporated into the development agreement. And it's been brought forward to PAC sort of as an information item, because ultimately in terms of PAC's approvals, it would be looking at what's required under the Community Planning Act, which is your streets and your land for public purposes, and then the suitability of the lands with respect to the proposed development.
Great, thank you, Mr. Coburn. I appreciate your attention to detail. Mr. Roberts, any comments from you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Any questions from PAC members to Mr. Brooks or Mr. Roberts, or to staff?
Hi, it's Kendall. I have a quick question. I just want to make sure that I understand it correctly, that staff will take care of the restriction of 5 approved building lots, and that's not what we'd have to include in our recommendations.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. So as development officer, I've received that information from the Director of Engineering and Works, and that's something that would be incorporated as part of my recommendation or my approval, conditions of approval. That would be incorporated into the development agreement.
Great, thank you, Dwight.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Darren, I just have one question.
Yep, go ahead, Dwight. Or,
Just on that basis, this is kind of, well, sort of hit me by surprise when I saw it, the letter in the mail, and I'm, talking with Mr. Brooks today. He wasn't really aware of it either. He thought that it was settled with the work that they had done with the fill down at the foot of the hill, wasn't it, into that manhole. And is that something different, Dwight, or is it, the 5 lots? I guess he's got a fair investment in here, and I know that there's a problem, but is it something that just arose, or is it something that's?
So through you, Mr. Chair, until we have an opportunity, again, we've undertaken a further study and analysis into the capacities and then the peak flows that go through there, and then trying to identify the source of the concerns and then how to mitigate that. So it's then looking at, do we twin the lines that are going into the lagoon, or what are the other options? So again, it's already been undertaken, and it's something that we're identifying as in terms of what are the next steps. And obviously it's something that we would look at through capital upgrades to correct in the very short term rather than the long term again. So it's identifying the issue, making sure that everybody's aware of it, and then again putting some restrictions in terms of the whole property getting built out without sort of a communication with the town to say, okay, I have 5, I'm looking at another one, like where are we in this process, right? So that's where we are.
great, thank you, Dwight. Brenda, you have a question?
Another question, Mike, for Dwight, and then a comment. Is that other developments up in that area that should be restricted to the number of houses, or is just this area that's causing maybe the problem? seems to be all flowing, you know, flows downhill. Just saying.
Unless you take the route that I explained earlier.
But do we have to limit the number of development lots elsewhere?
The letter that I received from Director of Engineering Works specifically looks at this one. However, it does not mean that we're not looking at all the developments that are flowing into this in the timeline that's been indicated. Okay, again, so in 2022, we're looking at the analysis, coming up with the game plan, and then looking, okay, this is how we're going to approach it. So, yeah.
And the other one is more of a, I walk that trail all the time, and I complain if you get, you know, silt coming down into the water. But maybe in this development, it's pretty good. But is somebody like yourself, if you have a heavy rain, just walk down that portion of Selkirk to the trail, the bridge? Because I see sometimes there's, when you're looking at that from the right, there's little muddy water coming down. And to me, that's important. It has been muddy before, but you're onto it and deal with it. The other side of the trail, we had to complain to environment to get something done there. But this one, I know you tried to do that. And if on a rainy day or rainy weekend, just take a peek and see.
We do, on every weather, we do walk and see where our problem areas are.
Yeah.
And identify if there are hours or not. And,
yeah.
We're creating a lot of little said ponds in the process, so things get filtered out before they reach.
Yeah. And I know one of the complaints was, it's nothing to do with yours, but the guy that on the end of Selkirk, if you want to go up that trail now, you have to climb over the gravel to get up onto Selkirk. But that's from the development coming down the hill there, not yours. And if they could flatten that out even, so people can get their bikes down and strollers and things like that, or little scooters that people use. It's.
Go walk it tomorrow, it looks, they've done a lot of work there.
Did they? Okay, it's supposed to be a nice day. Supposed to be a nice day, but I could be there.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks.
Mr. Goslin.
Yeah, just an observation here. I'm looking at the map that was given to us here on the presentation, and there's two lots below south of Montana Drive. And one of the lot, the one on the left, it looks like it's halfway in the water, and the other way is green area. I'm not sure if you can see the same map as I see here, but it's just curious here. Is the lot large enough to be developed, knowing that the water is running through it almost halfway? Do you know what I'm talking about here? The two lots south of Montana. And the one on the left, the furthest one on the left.
Dwight?
So it would fall under, if it falls under identified or is within a wetland, then obviously it would be an application to the province to obtain a wetland and watercourse wetland alteration permit, and then the provisions of that permit would kick in with respect to developing the lots. So in this particular case, it's sewer serviced, so it would be the excavation for the purpose of constructing the homes and locating them accordingly. So it would fall under WAWA provisions.
For that lot? Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dwight. Any other questions for Mr. Roberts or Mr. Brooks? None being, would I ask somebody from PAC to put a motion forward with term and conditions, please? Mark.
Put forward a motion that PAC approve Queensberry Heights Phase 14 B, tentative plan, subject to the following conditions, with the following conditions rather. Number one, the acceptance of the street layout and design for Phase 14B, making the future street adjacent to Lot 1-J a public street, thus providing public street access to Krista Carpenter property and ensuring Lot 1-J as public street, access on both street lines. Number two, acceptance of proposed LPP land in Phase 14B for protection of the drainage channel within the proposed development area. Number three, PIDs 30002869 and 300254119 to be consolidated prior to final plan approval, or LPP 4 extended to include PID 30002869. Number four, the requirement of the developer to obtain approval from the Provincial Department of the Environment, DOE, as it relates to construction within the wetland area and the 30-meter buffer. And number five, the granting of lot width variances for lots 5-I and 6-I.
Great, thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that. Darren Lamont.
Second by Darren. Thank you, Darren. Any questions or any comments for debate on this item? Hearing none, please vote.
It's a yay for me.
Motion carried with a vote of 6-0. Thank you. You'll get it, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Brooks, you get a letter in the mail in 5 to 7 business days with your approval. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 7J, 184 Hampton Road, revised hours of operation, ratified, amended the notice of decision. I guess we ratified that by voting through email. So let's, do we need a motion for that?
Actually, yeah, I should have put an option in there, sorry.
Yep, so can I get someone to make a motion to approve that? Mr. Goslin?
I'll put a motion for it to approve the extended hours, yeah.
Great. Seconder?
Second that, Mr.
Brent?
Chairman.
Thank you. Please vote.
I don't have a voting up, and I'll take voting by,
Okay, voting by yea or nay.
yes, please, sorry.
Brenda?
Yay.
Mark?
Yay.
Darren Lamont?
Yay.
Kendall?
Yay.
Brent? Mark? It's approved with a vote of 6-0. Motion carried. All right. Item number 8, information items and or discussion. Anything that need to be talked about, I guess, there? A motion to approve for that, please.
Receive and file.
Motion by Brenda, second by Brent. Please vote.
Yay for me.
Motion approved, 6-0. Motion carried. Item number 9, adjournment. Does someone make a
So
motion
moved.
to adjourn? So moved by Darren Lamont, second.
Second, Mark.
Second by Mark. Thank you, Mr. Lamont, and have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Great job, Darren.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good night.
Night.